Hi everybody, I'm Sergio with Mobility Direct. Welcome to our YouTube channel. In today's video, we're going to go over the Pride Mobility iGo, known as Model SC20. This mobility scooter is unique because it's TSA friendly and it folds. Not only does it fold, it breaks in half. So the lightest piece is going to be under 30 pounds. The heaviest piece, 32.8 pounds. Really easy to operate, super convenient for traveling in airports. And again, in this video, we're going to do some tune-ups. We're going to show you how to replace some parts and how easy it is to work on if you're a technician. So let's go ahead and dive into things. Now, like always, I do need to tell you about our free product catalog before we go any further. It's an awesome catalog. It has discount codes, our latest products. If you want a copy, just go to our website, mobilitydirect.com. Click on the green button at the top of every page that says free catalog. Fill out the simple short form that you're seeing on the screen now, and you should have one in the mail within 1 to 2 weeks tops. Now, with that being said, let's go ahead and dive right into things. So what we're going to do today is we're going to show you how to replace the dash, the main wire harness, how to access the controller, and talk about a few other things along the way. Now, to take apart the dash, there's a set of 8 screws, 2 on the front, right underneath the throttle. And we're going to remove those and then move to the front and take off 2 screws, 1 on each side of the light. So there's 3 pieces to the dash assembly, the 2 bottom pieces that we just took out, 1 on the front, 1 on the back, and then a top plate which has all the components installed to that top piece. Now there are 2 screws in the front and 2 screws in the back holding that top piece of the complete assembly of the dash together and onto the frame. So remove those 4 screws that are pointing up, 2 in the front, 2 in the back, and the dash will pop right off. What I love about Pride Mobility is that all of their products come with parts and wire connections that are independently labeled with part numbers. All of the connections are super easy to use. You don't have to splice wires or solder anything. I mean, they've just got a great engineering team. So we have a replacement dash here, and all of the connections are plug and play. Most of the time, you can't even connect them the wrong way because there's unique fittings for each one, and of course, all the wires are usually color-coded. Now, the main wire harness, which is the single wire that goes from the base to the dash up top, there's one main cable that has 3 connections, and it feeds all the way up the steering column, down the base, wraps around the frame on that little 90-degree piece right there with a bracket that holds the wire, and then it goes into the access area for the controller and all of the other technical components. So you want to go ahead and turn the scooter over on its side or flip it over, and there are 4 screws holding that lid together. And we're pointing them out here. It's kind of hard to see. Some of them are sunken in there pretty good. But you'll want to go ahead and remove those 4 screws to access the controller. Once you get all 4 of those screws removed, you'll be able to see that the top panel comes right off. In this case, since we had the scooter tipped over on its side, it just kind of fell right off. We didn't need to pull it off or anything. You'll notice now when we put it back upright, that top white panel on the left side of the floorboard is not there anymore. That's just a cover. So once you remove that, you'll be able to see all of the wire connections for the main wire harness, the controller, and the motor, and several other cables and connections that are in there. So right now what we're going to do is remove the bracket that's attached to the left part of the frame, and that bracket is there just to secure 2 wire harnesses to the frame so that they don't get pinched or anything when you're folding the scooter or turning the wheel, so that they don't get stretched out. It comes out really easily. There's a countersunk nut and a through bolt going through the bracket, which is kind of like a plastic, maybe nylon made bracket, which is a 90-degree kind of a deal there with a curve to it. And it just routes 2 wire harnesses through that, and it goes right into the area that we just exposed with the white cap. And you're going to see what I'm talking about. I went ahead and put the screws and the bolts back together just so I don't lose them. And there are the 3 wire harnesses going through that little access hole with a grommet on it. Now I'm just tugging on the main wire harness, which is the one we're going to replace. And you'll notice that there is a blocker, like a stop that hugs around that main wire harness. And that's pretty much just there to prevent the connector from kind of being pulled and tugged on, just in case anything happens. There are some zip ties around the 3 wires. You'll need to cut that zip tie and remove the grommet so that you can pull the clip and connector out if you're going to replace the main wire harness, which is what we're doing in this video. So I disconnected the main wire harness and now I'm able to pull it through, no problem. You do need to remove that grommet though, or else it will not fit through the hole. Now once you've got the main wire harness disconnected at the controller, you'll want to disconnect the 3 different connectors at the top of the console in the dash area. So there's the other end of that main wire harness. It has 3 connectors. I went ahead and disconnected all of them, and now I'm going to pull it through. There is a grommet up on top there as well, and you can pull that out. Now I went ahead and cut that grommet, but you know, if you want to, you can go ahead and push them through. I did push them through in the beginning, but when I went to go put it back on, it's just a really difficult thing to do. It's super tight. Those big connectors pushing through that grommet, it's kind of a headache. I don't recommend doing that, but I did cut it and it worked out just fine. So now that top part of that wire harness is loose, I can pull the old one through and replace it with the new one. What's nice is Pride sent it with the part number on the bag. That's an OEM wire harness. It also has a label on the wire itself with the part number. That's what I love about Pride. They're so organized when it comes to labeling their parts, and they always stock parts. They get them out quick. They are really great at approving warranty claims. Overall, they make great products. So here we're going to go ahead and disconnect the steering column from the base, and you will have to remove a set of nut and bolts at the base of the steering column, and that's going to basically, you know, allow you to disconnect the whole tiller assembly from the bottom part of the scooter. So there's just a bolt with 2 washers and a nut. Get those out. You can use a driver or a drill if you have the right bit, and once it's loose, you'll want to go ahead and just pull it out, and that's going to allow you to get that main wire harness that you're replacing out of there, right? Because it doesn't have the clearance for that clip to come out if you don't take apart the tiller. So you can route and pull the old wire harness out at this point, and then route the new one through the hole. I decided to go from the top down to the bottom, and once you have that wire connector for the main harness exposed at the bottom of the steering column, make sure you have plenty of slack, and then just put that steering column, or the whole tiller assembly, if you will, back together again. And you'll notice that there is like a grommet, like a U-shaped grommet at the bottom of the steering column where it connects with the base, and that's just used to hug and protect that main wire harness so it doesn't get pinched or bent or cut over time. Because again, this is a folding unit designed for travel. It's TSA friendly. It's going to get banged up by the airline attendants that don't really, you know, they're not cautious. We get tons of repairs from customers that had their scooter damaged by the airline attendants. So, you know, that's why they have all these different protective grommets and brackets to protect the wires. They expect these scooters to go through above average wear and tear. So now I'm just putting the nuts and the bolts back together with the washers on each side. No problem. We're going to fast forward through this part. I want to make sure before I tighten everything down that I've got enough slack so that that main wire harness end with the connector can reach the other side of the connector at the controller access area there. So I'm going to route it through, and once I have that clip routed through, I'm going to put that block back on, make sure I have enough slack first, and then put that block back on. The replacement OEM wire harness that you get will come with a replacement block. They don't get damaged, so you can choose to use the new one. In this case, I just reused the old one and kept the new one handy as a spare part. I tend to hoard parts. I'll probably never need it in the future, but hey, you know, why throw it away? So I've got my connections done, and if you remember, there was a, oh look, there's a fuse, an inline fuse there, a little glass fuse, and I just showed you just to give you some education that it's there if you need to replace it. And now if you remember, we got to put that grommet back on, and it's just a round grommet there to protect the 3 wires that are going through that hole. And there was a zip tie. So we're going to zip tie those 3 wires back together so that everything's nice and snug, the way it was when we found it, right? So I've got all my wires zip tied, I've got my block there, and I'm going to reconnect the 3 connections on the other end of the main wire harness in the dash area. Once that's done, I mean, the important part's pretty much done, right? So I'm going to test it out. I did, of course, shut off all the power. You want to always shut off power. And I tested it before putting everything back together again, and it works just fine. So here is the part where, I was telling you I got a little frustrated with that grommet because it's just too small for those 3 connectors to go through. So I did cut the grommet and put it back in that hole at the top part of the dash, reconnected everything, and then put the dash panels back on for the dash. There's 3 pieces. Remember, the top plate is 1 plate, and then the bottom 2 plates on the front and the back. So you've got 3 body panels for the dash that you'll want to reassemble at this point, and I'm just fast forwarding through this part. You will need to kind of mush all the wires back into that main area that you're seeing on the screen now. It is a tight fit, so if the wires aren't pushed in there well, the screws will not seem to go into their threaded holes on the frame. So you make sure everything's nice and neat and tight, and it's not uncommon for you to have a little difficulty with the wires being in the way when you're putting it back together again. These folding scooters are like smartphones. Like, there's no room for anything. They try and make these things as light as possible, as compact as possible, and that's why there's really not a lot of room when it comes to working on things like your wire management. But either way, it's working fine. One other thing I want to show you is that the folding mechanism, it's a latch with a brake cable on it. And I just wanted to show you in case you ever need to adjust that, because over time it might become loose. There's 2 points. There's one right there where you can see that there's a little end piece that's lodged into a bracket. Same thing at the bottom, except the bottom one you can actually adjust. So if you need to adjust the tightness of that cable, you can do so. There's also a wire going to the main motor hub, as well as a wire going to the assistive braking technology that kind of knows when you're turning, and if you're going fast, it's going to automatically slow you down. All of these pieces are easily replaceable. And once you know where the main wire harnesses go, it's just a matter of taking the screws out and replacing the parts. So the contacts for the assistive brake are there. The motor is there attached to the front wheel. And if you want to replace those parts, literally you just take the hardware out, get the new part, put it back in. Now that you know where the wires route from and to, you can easily disconnect those wires and put the new parts in, whether it's the motor, the assistive turning contact, the controller, everything about this thing. So the only thing I'm not showing you here is really the motor replacement part, which it's a little bit more involved, but in the future, if we do get a motor replacement service request at one of our local showrooms, we'll put that part of the video together for you. But these motors usually last a really long time. I have not had one request for a new motor. So that's a good, thing to keep in mind. Quality is there. There are some adjustments that I've had to make, like the little latches, these levers that I'm tightening, they do get loose over time, and they sometimes need lubrication. So that's normal. These are very highly used and commonly used pivot points on the scooter. These are used to fold and unfold it, so they're being used all the time. And as you can imagine, they will get loose over time, and if it gets any kind of oxidation from like rust, if you're in South Florida where you're close to the ocean, you might just need to lube it up a little bit. So those latches were loose. I tightened them up. It's just a nut and the bolt, and I greased them up with some WD-40. Good to go. And now it's purring again. Now there's one other thing that I want to show you, and it's not on this particular model, but not this particular scooter, the white one. We had another customer bring one in, and it had an issue with the seat not going down and going up sometimes. So what you want to do is you can remove the backrest pretty easily by loosening up those hand screws. And you see that little rod that I'm pushing in and out? It should not freely swing in and out like that. There should be a clip in place that prevents that from happening. And if you're not able to raise or lower your seat, that's probably what's going on, is that clip failed or got lost. And in this case, the clip got lost. So these 2 rods under the seat, they are used to basically allow the seat to go up and down. So when you're collapsing the seat, there's a clip on on each of those rods actually, and the clip on the left side was missing. So I had to get a replacement C clip, and that's not a common thing, but I am going to show you, just for educational purposes, that if you have that rod sliding in and out like that, or if your seat's not collapsing like it should, check to see if the C-clip that I'm actually installing right now is lodged into the very end of that rod where there's like a color change. And you could see that that's a groove for that C-clip to sit in. If one of those clips are missing, you could have problems with collapsing your seat. And so you will need a C-clip tool and the right size C-clip. I recommend getting yourself a set so you have plenty of different sizes to work with. Again, this is for technicians. I don't expect end users to use these videos. Now, again, this was the iGo by Pride Mobility. As you can see, it's TSA friendly. We have a video where we took it on an airplane ride. Highly recommend watching our videos. We have tons of awesome videos. We do a monthly giveaway as well, and all you have to do to join our monthly giveaway is subscribe to our YouTube channel and leave a comment. By subscribing and leaving a comment, you're automatically entered into that monthly giveaway. And like some of the last few winners that you're seeing on the screen now, you too could win a free powered mobility product once a month, folks. You'll also get notified whenever we come out with new videos. So if you're not already subscribed, what are you waiting for? Hit the subscribe button, leave a comment, and good luck to you. Until next time, everybody, have a great day.
Let's take it real soon.